do not lose hope in this 2022 Jacksonville Jaguar team. They did a lot of things poorly. Yes, that's ultimately why they lost, but at the same time, they did some things very, very well. You know, the first of them being the play calling. The play calling from Doug Peterson and Press Taylor was very good. Players were schemed open and they were put in positions to make big plays. You know, give Trevor the week to work and practice, and I think we're going to see a much better performance from him, and I think as a whole, we're going to see a much better performance from the offense in a scoring perspective. You know, just imagine the outlook we'd have on this game if Trevor hits ETN early in the game and he makes it, or if he makes any of the three throws that were very, very open. You know, Marvin Jones down the sideline. What happens if he hits him in stride? Does he go for 6? That's a huge question mark. What if he hits Zay Jones in the front corner of the end zone? That's potentially 6 points right there. And then, like I mentioned, he had the one bad throw to Travis Etienne, obviously missed him on the wheel route. And that's not even bringing up the fact that Travis Etienne himself took it upon himself to Gronk spike one of the passes directly into the turf when he probably could have done car wheels into the end zone. So these three throws make this game an entirely different conversation. If he makes one of them, it makes an entirely different conversation. Now imagine if he hits 2 of the 3, 3 of the 4. That's what I'm kind of trying to get at here, guys, is that the play calling and the play calling was great. The execution was poor. You know, if we can get the execution to the level of the play calling, this Jaguars offense is going to be humming like a freight train, and it's going to be hard to stop it, in my opinion. They were moving along very, very well early in the second half, and then unfortunately the poor decision-making caught back up to them, and the wheels fell off just as fast as they found their way back on. But Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence both mentioned in their Wednesday press conference about how many individual matchups were won on Sunday, but they just failed to execute on the opportunities afforded to them, either through scheming and play calling or mistakes made by the Washington Commanders defense. So I say all that as my first reason to why you should not lose any faith that this Jaguars offense and this Jaguars team in 2022 can be very, very successful. But moving on to number 2, the second reason you should not be giving up hope and you should not lose faith is the defense's ability to create and get turnovers. This Jaguars defense had a whopping 9 turnovers in 2021, believe it or not. You know, they were a very, very poor defense when it came to creating turnovers, getting the ball back for the offense. Now you fast forward to 2022, last week. What happened? They got a third of their whole turnover total from 2021 in the first game. There's still 16 games to play, Jaguars fans. And you look at as a whole, from all levels of the defense, there are ability and the potential to make turnover-creating plays and just create havoc-wreaking plays. Obviously, Josh Allen had a forced fumble that got fallen on and recovered by Foye Oluokun. Trayvon Walker had the play of the game with the interception. Oh my goodness, he read his eyes like a book. And then Tyson Campbell had the incredible pick as well. Unfortunately, does give up the touchdown a little bit later in the game, but still, Tyson Campbell was able to get the turnover. Now, you look at this defense as a whole. I mentioned they're built from top to bottom to be a turnover machine, and I mean that. Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker both found ways to make impactful turnover-creating plays this Sunday. And then you look at what Josh Allen did last year. In the Buffalo game, yes, it was a fluky game, but he absolutely took that game over on defense. So the potential is there for this Jaguars defense, and especially this Jaguars defensive line. Yeah, I'm going to kind of lump the outside linebackers in with the defensive line for this purpose. But let's look at the remainder of the front seven. Let's look at the interior linebackers. Both of them are absolute studs as well when it comes to creating turnovers. Foye Oluokun has had 7 forced fumbles and 5 interceptions thus far in his career as he enters year 5. And then Devin Lloyd comes to us from Utah in the first round of the 2022 draft. He's had 5 interceptions, 3 of which went back to the house to be pick sixes while he was a Ute. So this defensive front seven absolutely has a bunch of potential on it, and that's not even including Foley Fatukasi, Arden Key, DeJuan Smoot, Roy Robertson-Harris, Devon Hamilton, all guys that have the potential to really make impactful plays when these other guys start to draw the attention of offensive coordinators. So, and we haven't even gotten to the secondary yet. We haven't even touched the secondary yet, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me. Tyson Campbell is going to continue to develop, and in his last 8 games, so his week 1 performance this year, and his last 7 in 2021, he had 3 interceptions and 11 passes defended. He is consistently around the ball. I do think we're going to have a lot more interceptions coming. I think we're going to have a lot more passes defended. And then we round out with Andre Sisco, one of the most underrated ball hawks, in my opinion, in the National Football League, in 247 snaps in his rookie year. So for context, they usually play about 1,000 snaps throughout a season. So he played about a quarter of the snaps in the season. He almost came down with an interception in the Jets game, and then he did have the forced fumble in Week 18 against the Indianapolis Colts. So he played in a quarter of the snaps and he had 2 impactful plays. So obviously expand that out throughout the season. He's averaging 8 turnover-worthy plays throughout a season. I just think the potential is through the roof. I think their ceiling is, into the atmosphere, into the space. It is so high. And hey, if you're appreciating the Jaguars content I'm putting out, do Patriotic Puzz a favor, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, like we saw Trayvon Walker do to Carson Wentz, and like we're going to see him do to Matt Ryan week 2 in the home opener at the bank. Let me know if you're going to be there, by the way, in the comment section. I'd love to see you guys there. But the third reason you should have faith and keep hope that this Jaguars team will be successful in 2022 is this two-headed monster the Jaguars have at running back that's kind of been unleashed. I think they have the potential to be something very, very special. Let me tell you why. Despite the limited touches that both Jaguars running backs had, they had a very clear path to 4 total touchdowns. Obviously, James Robinson had his 2. He had the receiving and then the running. But then you look at Travis Etienne. I talked about him already. If Trevor Lawrence hits him on the wheel route, that's a touchdown. If Travis Etienne doesn't spike the ball into the ground, that's a touchdown. When have the Jaguars ever had 4 potential touchdowns coming from the running back room and then look to the following weeks and say, yeah, I think they can do that again? Not have it just be some fluke game where Jordan Todman scores a bunch of touchdowns or TJ Yeldon has a 2-touchdown game. None of that. These 2 guys have very clear paths to scoring more touchdowns in the National Football League in this season and against this Colts team they're facing next week. Obviously, I hit on the fact that Etienne had the 2, and then James Robinson was able to capitalize on both of his chances that he got. And I do think this tandem of the former 1,000-yard rusher for the Jaguars and then the ACC all-time leading rusher could be one that could light the league on fire. You talk about Etienne, he is a lightning quick running back with a great ability to come out of the backfield as a pass catcher, and then James Robinson is just a steady workhorse. You can work and you can ride and you can use him as a 3-down back if you really wanted to. And on top of that, he has incredible vision as well. I remember in last week's game, the hole closed very, very early on him. He cuts to a different one. He gets going upfield quick, fast, in a hurry. I love to see that from him. Between James Robinson having 6 yards per attempt on his 11 attempts, and then Travis Etienne absolutely going crazy with his 4 attempts, averaging 11.8 yards. And just kind of as a cookie topper here, he went 2 of 4 on his 4 targets for 18 yards, with both of his misses being just either the overthrow that we talked about with Trevor Lawrence, and then obviously he decided to spike the ball into the ground. I don't think either of those things are going to reoccur. I think Travis Etienne is going to be a very, very effective pass catcher, and I do think James Robinson showed the effect that he can have in the passing game as well. So I do think these 2 running backs are in for huge weeks ahead of them until defensive coordinators find some way to counteract this 2-headed monster that the Jaguars have kind of unleashed, because Doug Peterson seemed very, very happy that he has another toy to work with on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to James Robinson. But just as a nice, top cake topper for this whole video, when was the last time the Jaguars had these league rankings? Yes, it was just 1 week, but when was the last time they were 14th in scoring? When was the last time the Jaguars were 11th in passing yards? And they were competitive through the game, and it wasn't Blake Bortles throwing for 1,000 yards when they were down 38-10. And on top of all that, the Jaguars had 18 total carries, 15 of them coming from James Robinson and Travis Etienne, and they were 13th in the league in rushing yard. They had 18 carries, and they were 13th. Now imagine what they can do off an expanded role, these 2, Travis Etienne and James Robinson. Imagine what they can do off 20 combined, 25. And then that's splitting carries between the 2 of them. They each get 12 carries, and not only are they still incredibly healthy, they're still incredibly rested, they're also still running the ball 25 times. When was the last time the Jaguars were successful? In 2017. What did they do? They had a heavy dose of this man right here running the mess out of the ball. Leonard Fournette was a huge reason the Jaguars were successful in 2017. I'm not saying that either of these backs are anywhere similar to playoff Lenny, but still at the same time, you run the ball to be successful in this league. It's a tale as old as time, in my opinion. It's a passing league, but if you want to be successful, you have to have a good running attack, and that is exactly what the Jaguars have with this 2-headed monster that I cannot stop gushing about in Travis Etienne and James Robinson. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't give up hope on this Jaguars team. I believe to my core that this team could be successful at Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker. All of these Jaguars are going to be key pieces to a very, very successful Jaguars team very, very shortly. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Stay safe, and go Jaguars.
How about them Jags?
Come on, Joe! Ah! Thank you, baby! Thank you! You make it block. Come from
Duval! Yeah.